So last Thursday I went to see Blade Runner 2049, and for the most part, I enjoyed it. I felt that Denis Villeneuve did a fantastic job at expanding the universe of Blade Runner and making a worthy successor to the 1982 film. Now, for the record, I've seen the first movie, and while I didn't necessarily enjoy it as much as others, I felt that it was not only a visual wonder, but it was also a pretty solid movie by Ridley Scott. All of that being said, however, it's by no means perfect, and neither is its sequel. So let's iron out all the pros and cons. First off, cinematography. Now, on a lot of other reviews you're going to come across for this film, you're going to see and hear a lot of circle jerking about what Roger Deakins did for the cinematography. And let me tell you right now that it is far from unwarranted. The cinematography, it's just that good. It's that good. The visuals in general, just absolute eye candy. And what really helps complement them is the score. The score done by Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallfisch, I absolutely adored it. As for story, the story it was alright. I enjoyed the story, and I felt that it wasn't really too ham-fisted. It was easy to follow. It made sense. And while I did feel it got a little bit convoluted at certain points in the film, and it's a rare thing, really, it was overall just pretty easy to follow. And it wasn't too convoluted so that it becomes a bungled mess. So, as for cons, I didn't really care much for Jared Leto's character. I never felt like he was really playing a person. I felt like he was playing a caricature, like an eccentric caricature. Also on acting, Ryan Gosling as Officer K, I wasn't too crazy about it. I didn't hate it. He wasn't doing an abysmal job at it, but I just felt like he was just playing Driver, like a variation of Driver, the tough, silent type who is willing to act violent when the situation calls for it. But there are some scenes, and it isn't a rarity like how when I said there's some points in the story where it can get a little convoluted. I mean, there are scenes where he does evoke emotion, and it does kind of shatter that sort of quiet guy attribute that has kind of become a staple of his career since Drive. Overall, in terms of acting, I kind of felt like the film, it didn't half-ass it. And of course, it didn't fail, but I felt like it could have been better. And yeah. And another thing was the pacing. That's another thing that kind of bothered me, but not really. I heard the first film was sort of guilty for that infraction, but for me, it wasn't really that bad. It wasn't that long. It didn't really drag. I mean, I haven't watched it since. I might watch it again, and that might change, but for now, I think it wasn't that bad. But for this one, it tends to drag. It can drag at times, but it isn't to a point where the film as a result just suffers and becomes this monotonous grind. It did kind of feel like hours had passed by when really it was like, what, two hours? I think the runtime is 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I'd just like to say the reason I said that it bothered me, but not really, is because I have a tolerance for slower burning films, but just as long as there's something going on. It doesn't have to be action-packed, there doesn't necessarily have to be violence, but there has to be something of interest, or something that's, pertinent to what the story that is occurring. And luckily, the film does have this, and it doesn't disappoint, and that's really what helps it not suffer from slow pacing. Overall, it's Blade Runner 2049 is a strong 8 out of 10. If you're a fan of the first and are pretty anxious about whether or not this is going to be shit, I think it's safe to say you can put those worries at ease. Thanks for watching.